When you go to college or university, it's such a big deal, isn't it? You're like, you spend your whole teenage years like gearing up to college or university. It's like, what are you going to study? And like that, you need to get the right grades to get that. And you should get a first in your university because that really matters. And, you know, to your point, I haven't had a single person in my entire adult career say, what did you get at university? Because it doesn't fucking matter. I don't think the stuff that you learn in class at school matters. I think the lesson of how to think is what matters. And it's the how you think that you then apply to your future, you know, careers and jobs and relationships and whatever it might be that makes you the career and the person that you are today. It's not actually the 3.5 years or 4 years or whatever it is that you spend studying. You said something as well, which I thought was quite interesting about how you would have just continued studying and you loved learning. I think a lot of people think because of perhaps like uninspiring teachers or whatever it might be that learning is a chore. And actually, I mean, I was one of those kids, you know, you were a grade A student. I was like a D minus. I was always in trouble, always in detention. Like I went to boarding school and I was gated all the time, which meant that you weren't allowed to leave your dorm room. Like it was horrendous.
That's why you're an entrepreneur and I'm not.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I just always would be like, so why are we doing that? And then it would be taken as I was talking back and like all of the things. And so I really thought that education and learning was like this terrible thing that I didn't want to do because I was so uninspired by the teachers that were teaching me until I went to sixth form college. And actually I have a tattoo on my rib cage, which was a quote that one of my teachers used to say all the time because he's basically inspired me to love learning. Do you think that the way that we learn as society is a little bit backward in that, you know, you go to school, you get a degree and then it stops? Like, because from my perspective, learning should be a lifelong thing and almost even degrees are wrong. Like instead of it being a 2.5 or 3 year degree, maybe it should be that you do 6 months over a period of 10 years. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you learn everywhere. And actually, it's interesting because my older son is starting school this year and I went to his school and listened to his teachers about the process and the system. And I had a flashback and I was like, oh my God, like this is not natural at all. That we're sitting in a class for so many hours, so many years of our lives, learning things that are not necessarily up to date with what society is all about today. And the thing is, yeah, you need to learn some basics, absolutely. And I think what you learn is also to socialize, to figure out how to connect with other people, you know, with your peers, with your superiors. But let's face it, you know, the current system was made for a time that doesn't exist anymore. And it was created on purpose for the Industrial Revolution. And we're not... Yeah, you wanted to create people that were good at being told what to do, right? So this is where the world doesn't work like that anymore. So we do need to reassess. And I think about this all the time for my kids, like, how do I want my kids to learn? Now, I don't want to take them out of the system. This is the system that we have, and we need to kind of, you know, I cannot change the world. But as a parent, I think I can help them have access to different people and their stories and their experiences and help them to travel the world and give them access to ideas and to different things, creative things, not creative things, you know. I grew up thinking that I was not creative at all. And I never knew until in my 30s that I have creativity in me. And I remember my first boss at Disney, after many years, she told me when like I kind of like got other jobs and stuff like that. And she was like, I never knew that you were creative. Because the narrative that I told myself and I grew up in, it was like, I'm the organized one. I'm the analytical one. I'm like business oriented, you know, like this was the thing that I grew up with. And if you don't see that around you growing up, you don't know that that exists. Right? So I want my kids to have access and to see different things so that they know what opportunities are there into the world.
Do you know what's really interesting? I was, again, like I'm a massive, so go back to learning, like I am an avid learner now. Like I listen to every podcast, I read every single book. Like I'm just like obsessed with learning. It's kind of how I came across you. But I was listening to a podcast and this woman said, are you inspired by your kids' teachers? And the person was like, no, not really. And she was like, so why are you letting them teach your kids? And that really hit home for me because I kind of took a step back and like looked at like my kids' teachers and I was like, would these people inspire me if I was that age? And thankfully, like, you know, my kids have got an incredible school they go to. And we had to fight tooth and nail for them to get there because it's so good. But, they have these teachers that are just really kind and, really like allow the kids to be curious. And, in the UK, we have like this system of like, there's only allowed to be 30 kids in one class. And oftentimes there's one teacher and one sub teacher that teach 30 children at once. My kids' school has 4. So like they have a lot of attention and a lot of time with those teachers. But it got me thinking about, you were talking there about creativity and like inspiration and stuff, and how children's kind of education, if you like, isn't just in a classroom setting, it's everything. And you need to expose them to lots of different things in order for them to work out what they are and what they're capable of. Because, you were saying there, like I was the analytical one, I was the da-da-da one. We tell ourselves these narratives sometimes, and children do too, right? If they think, like my daughter came home recently and she goes, oh, I'm not good at that. And I was like, why do you think you're not good at it? And she was like, oh, I did it one time and I wasn't good at it. And I was like, you are not good at it because you're telling yourself you're not good at it. If you do it a couple more times, you might be better. And we do that as adults, don't we? We're like, oh, I'm not, I can't do that. Like, I'm no good at that. Or some even most basic things of like, oh, I'm not a runner. Like, I can't run. And it's like, but have you tried? So do you think, like, you seem quite self-aware in the sense that you can look back and you understand that you had those limiting beliefs. Like, do you think that's played a massive role in where you've got to today and kind of understanding that those limiting beliefs exist and reframing them? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, therapy. To start with. That's what I've done. And a lot of coaching and reading and learning about, growth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm quite aware. I'm not 100% there yet, but it's a journey. And I think that this is also why I started Unmatched. It was a journey of finding my own voice. I didn't know what that was a couple of years ago. And I think that I really needed to figure it out, and the way that you do it is doing things that are out of your comfort zone. And I thought about not doing it for so long, and I thought about giving it up for so long. And then there were signs that kind of like brought me to keep pushing and keep doing it. But you need to kind of put yourself out of your comfort zone. And what I tell my team always is, don't just go to this marketing events, like go to, I don't know, consumer insights that have nothing to do with what you're doing on the creative side. Like go to tech events or attend or meet people out of your industry, in terms of networking. You need to expand. You cannot just have this tunnel vision as okay, I'm in marketing, so I can only network with marketers. I've learned so much by networking with people that are so out of my reach.
100%. I actually think you learn, particularly in marketing, I think you learn more from stepping outside of your industry than you do from within it, because everyone does the same shit.